So, hey guys, Chauzu here. This is going to be my deep dive into the new Super Sugo Fest exclusive Strength Kaido. And yeah, I have been thinking a bit about the similarities with this Kaido and the OG Strength Kaido, which was incredibly overpowered on debut and does very similar things to this Kaido, like Orb Booster, gives Wano Orbs, has a gimmick around increased damage taken and increased damage taken conditionals. So yeah, it's like just a power creep that Kaido. And another thing is the fact that Kaido was so good at the beginning that they kind of tried to not make him usable in Super Boss. So despite being really good, he basically didn't see any use past his debut. So I don't really think I've used him basically anything against Super Boss. One big reason as well is that we barely got any Dex Super Bosses, but now they are finally returning. So we'll see if this Kaido gets to shine a bit more, but just like the last one, he really wants to face Dex opponents, that's for sure. Anyway, let's start with a recap of the unit, and then we're going to look at some potential teammates, and finally a quick look at the PvP stuff. Okay, so Kaido, he's a strength powerhouse driven unit. He has Rush, which is very exciting, and he has an EX Super. Starting with the captain, he's a strength and powerhouse focused unit, and I'll say that this unit doesn't really have many weaknesses. It's an overall very strong unit, but I'd say the biggest reason is the fact that despite being strength powerhouse driven, this Kaido only boosts strength and powerhouse, and that really holds him back massively. Like, a lot of the potential teammates he could have been used with are like mostly driven, and not all of them are powerhouse. So you lose a lot of potential good partners, especially from the Beast Pirates, which will help him with the EX Super condition, Rush condition, and all of that. So yeah, it's a big loss, I'd say, personally. And probably the main reason why I probably won't really try and rainbow him. Like, if the Ribbon is included, I'd say that would be an easy decision, but no. Anyway, let's continue. Strength and Powerhouse, -2 CD, so a speedrun captain too, very nice to see. 5.75 times attack. If you have a 1 orb, is instead a 6 times attack, so basically a very easy 6 times attack to get potentially. Booster HP by 1.5 times. You do 5 times his attack in strength damage at the end of turn. And Dex slots are turned into Wano. So it's always nice to have some orb that makes Wano guaranteed, and Dex, yeah, that's fine. And if you tap on a Wano orb with Kaido, you remove barriers by 1 turn, and you apply Ignited to all enemies for 3 turns. And I did say this didn't ignore full immunity, but it says it's right there. I somehow missed it despite reading it like 2 times. But yeah, true full immunities, that's cool, which means that you can try and partner him up with some potential burn conditional, even if they can't get through full immunity because Kaido does it. And also, when he takes damage, he applies increased damage taken to all enemies, also through full immunity, and this is for 10 turns, so that's quite a lot. So yeah, a lot of stuff, good stuff. He even has some nice utility with both doing end of turn damage, being able to remove barrier, applying burn, like, yeah, hard to complain here. Good damage, good speed, pretty good utility. Utility is probably the weakest part, but it's not bad utility. And also, as discussed before, let's do the EX Super first, because it is kind of connected to this, because you might think that the only way to get the increased damage taken through full immunity is through taking damage, but you also have the option of the EX Super. When you use it, top row gets 1 orbs. You apply increased damage taken to all enemies 1.75 times. Well, it's a 2x buff actually. It's just saying that if you already have increased damage taken, you buff it a bit, which is nice, of course. And you also get -1 CD, and you make Powerhouse Super Powerhouse and Strength Super Strength. So yeah, it's a pretty good EX Super, I'd say. The one thing I feel it lacks is some tandem orb manip, because yeah, getting 1 orbs and tandem orbs with this unit feels like one of the biggest issues for high damage teams. Let's move on with the special. And yeah, if enemy has max HP about 1 million, you do 1 million damage ignoring everything, including normal attacks only. So if the enemy has 100k HP, you won't do any damage, which is incredibly bizarre, but it is what it is. Strength and Powerhouse gets 2.75 times orb boost for 2 turns, 3 turns if they have 1 orb, and if the unit is captain or friend captain or guest captain, you get that 3 times increased damage taken conditional. And as said, this is an incredibly powerful effect. It's the best conditional by far, because increased damage taken is inherently sought after. Let's say instead you do a unit that does Death Down, like Super Sugofest Robin, and pair her with Usopp Yasop, who does a delay conditional. Sure, you got 2 conditionals, but you still want that increased damage taken, because it's still another multiplier that lets you do more damage. So it's just more efficient to both do increased damage taken and an increased damage taken conditional. Then you both got increased damage taken and the conditional, and you just need 1 more conditional. And in the case of Kaido, surprise, it will be the new Super Sugofest Big Mom. So you got all the conditionals covered there pretty easily. So yeah, not much more to say there. Like, there's no utility or anything, but it's pretty insane damage, both the orb boost and a 3 times conditional in general is just bonkers. And of course with the EX Super you can make it, well, it buffs the increased damage taken status, but there are other buffs you can use to buff that conditional. With that said, let's talk a bit about the rush, because it's what makes this Kaido really stand out compared to other rush legends. And yeah, at the final battle, if this character hits 2nd or 3rd, and that's basically the only conditional, you need to be at final battle, you hit 2nd or 3rd, and you also need 2 of the listed units, which are the ones you could guess beforehand. The only 2 odd ones are Kanjuro and Fuguro Kujo, but of course Kanjuro gets a legend and Fuguro Kujo a rare recruit, so makes sense to include them here, even if it is a bit weird canonically. But yeah, I've already discussed the rush, but basically this rush is mostly a version of Sanji's rush. Sanji does 3 colors, Kaido does 1 color and 1 class, and the class is not one of the top 4, maybe not even top 5 classes in the game. And he can't get as high chain, since he can only do his rush 7 times. He consumes more HP when doing the rushes. And the only clear improvement is that his rush attack boost after doing the final tap is a 1.5 times attack boost. Sanji is a 1.4 times attack boost. So very minor difference there, but yeah, Sanji is just better in every way. But obviously with Kaido you can build different kinds of teams. You don't need to be so Straw Hat focused. You can be more on the Kaido side, which I'd say is powerhouse driven, but we are back to this again. No driven. And imagine this being strength, powerhouse, and driven. Would have been such a big difference in viability. And powerhouse is just not as good as driven, and not having driven really holds him back. At the same time, Kaido helps buff powerhouse, which is not bad, but we're talking about should he invest in Kaido, and the lack of driven really puts a huge question mark on that for sure. I said it before, but I really don't feel like doing it because of that. And also because of the fact that we saw what happened with the last strength Super Super Fast Kaido, not being able to be used at all in Super Boss like forever. Support is just a ton of base attack, very boring to be honest. And yeah, what more to say? He can buff the enemy's increased damage taken effect as a sub, so same as his EX Super, and the EX can only be used as Captain, by the way, if that wasn't made clear. So yeah, overall PvE stuff, I feel like he's incredibly strong, but also incredibly boring and bland. But that might be fine. Honestly, we rarely get such bland units like this that are just pure power creep, pure strong, but really nothing that is exciting. And that might be fine because it means that he will be decently easy to use. Main issue is of course getting the one orbs and getting tandem orbs, because you do want that super tandem still. Like the last Super Super Fast Kaido did that a lot better, since he gave both Wano and tandem with his super class. This Kaido only does Wano and only to 2 units, so you still want the others to probably get a Wano orb, and you definitely want to get some tandem orbs, and you also need units that have super tandem and are good. Anyway, with that, let's look at some partners. First, I wanted to focus on his EX Super and Rush. So that means mainly Beast Pirates and also some others. But I started looking at strength units, and yeah, this is just searching for strength, but all of them ended up being powerhouse, so it worked out. But yeah, we have the Yak, for example, who can do color affinity. The King, who does an attack boost. The Queen there does some base attack boost, but they also of course do some utilities, so it's not just one lower buff, they also help in other ways. The two on the left here are probably the best ones, and they are legends, it makes sense, but Ulti and Who's Who, like Ulti is also a powerhouse captain, can resist the spear. Ulti can also apply a conditional, but of course that doesn't have the best synergy with Kaido, who already does an own conditional, and the only other conditional you can stack with that is Big Mom. But yeah, as I said there, and if we go back to Ulti super class, she's a super powerhouse too, so that doesn't really benefit that much. But the special is pretty nice with utility, base attack boost, increased chain, so potential option. But I'd say that probably the best one of these is Who's Who, since he does a big color affinity boost, which is nice. Potential good captain as well. Superclass is also not that bad. The main issue is that despite being a super tandem, this Who's Who only boosts Dex and Quick. But that could potentially be fine, since it's not like Kaido has to be mono strength. Like you hit early with Kaido, you hit early with Who's Who, and then you build up for the final hits, which could be like Big Mom, for example, Dex against a quick boss and her final tap. So it is an option, but yeah, not perfect synergy. So you see, strength wise, not optimal in terms of getting the rush and super and such. But obviously we have some new units too releasing, with Orochi, Gokujo, Kanjuro, but I don't feel like they are the absolute best either. Some other ones, we have Big Mom here, for example. Well, she's the best one, like they are a match made in heaven, like Kaido with increased damage taken through full immunity and increased damage taken conditional, and then Big Mom adds a burn conditional on top of that. Ironically, she didn't need to go through full immunity, since Kaido will handle that anyway, but she does, and it's pretty good. And obviously Big Mom also has the ability to give one orbs, but running Big Mom with Kaido has its own problems, since Like maybe you can get a full ball of Wano or something, but you still want a tandem orb. And the only unit who can turn Wano to tandem for these units is the lead performer / my free to play, but a free to play unit is not optimal, even if it might be in the Super Boss Kizuna, weirdly enough. Otherwise, there are some other good options like King, for example, incredible unit overall, also powerhouse, helps you a lot with chains and utility. Orochi can give some color affinity, queen attack boost or chain boundary. So all of these are powerhouse units you could hybrid with Kaido. Sasaki is probably one of the more interesting ones, since his super tandem actually can be used on a strength team. You could hit first with him, and he does do an attack boost and can do a base attack boost, so he can help quite a bit with damage, so that's an interesting option. Honestly, the most interesting thing, I don't really think it exists right now, not a good one at least, is a super tandem user that can proc super tandem in 2 hits, because that means you could get super tandem activated for Kaido on the 3rd hit when he does the rush, because a rush backed by super tandem will be a lot more powerful than a rush without super tandem. It's worth looking into. I might have overlooked that potential. I just thought about it right now. And yeah, here, well, we just talked about lead performers. I haven't invested in them yet, busy with TM. But yeah, they have the ability of doing an attack boost, buffing Kaido's ore boost, also get a tandem through Wano, and of course they have a super tandem, which is not the strongest, but it is better than no super tandem, so might be worth considering just for that. Otherwise, here I just looked at some powerhouse attack boosters, and most of them ended up being strength as well, so that kind of worked out. Sweet Commanders will be very interesting with a future 6+, since they look like a very good match, like chain boost, attack boost, color affinity is like everything that Kaido doesn't do. So yeah, with a more modern multiplier they could be used, but 5 times attack, it's not that great. Cat and Dog, pretty similar. And we have Drake, who is also cool with attack boost and a chain boundary. So that's pretty awesome. And Whitebeard can also do a base attack boost on top of the attack boost. And yeah, finally, some potential final tap and super tandem partners. We've already discussed a few ones. I also want to talk a bit about Kaido here, because as I said, he's basically a power creeped Kaido, this one. But they could be used together, ? Since you do get the tandem, which is pretty strong. You do get, and I want to mention with the super class or the super tandem as well, that you will further increase the received damage up effects on enemies by plus 0.75, which is pretty strong. One sad thing is of course that for this super tandem you need it with 3 units, so yeah. But on the upside is that the other Kaido, well, his driven powers, he can't be part of it. I guess, yeah, that's a shame. But yeah, it's potential at least. They do have some synergy, but the problem is of course that they do the same buff. So this Kaido will just be here for a super tandem, helping with orb manip, and that's basically it. Another potential super tandem is the newly released Whitebeard, who is what I talked about, by the way. I managed to forget it while talking, but yeah, you only need to hit with 2 units. Oh, it does say 3. I overlooked it. It looked like 2, but you need to hit with 3. If you only had a really good one where you can hit with 2 units. But still, you can get a tandem attack boost for Powerhouse and add some Powerhouse resistance. That's pretty sweet at least. And it does help with getting tandem orbs, which is very helpful. And you also get a chain boundary, and you can get increased chain growth rate. So it is actually a pretty interesting combination to use with it. As for some final taps, the Kanjuro here is supposed to be the new Kanjuro. Not the best final tap, but if you use them together and against the deck's boss, then it might be okay. Uta, well, not the best synergy with Kaido. I feel like I say that with a lot of units. Could be used, but not the best synergy. Imagine if we had Driven as well, I don't think I'd say that as much. But Uta, also as a final tap, can give color affinity as well. But I think the maybe most interesting one is Luffy Crew, who has seen consistent use with these Kaido comps in the past. But I think he's better than ever now, mostly because obviously you'd use Kaido against decks a lot of the time. Luffy Crew can also hit against decks. And Kaido, unlike many other of the Kaido units, is not a mono powerhouse or driven. He boosts strength, so Luffy Crew can actually do damage on top of the final tap. So I think that could be really cool, since you get that extra conditional through the final tap and also just does damage in general. So I think that would be a very cool combination. They could even be a captain duo, I figured. So yeah, that's some potential partners I've thought about. Not really thought about any potential super boss teams yet. That will come next week, I presume. Need to see how good my Kaido gets. I'm presuming I have to live with a friend captain, Rainbow Kaido. Anyway, to end this video, let's talk some PvP. And I don't think Kaido is that great in PvP. Like, except for V2 Kaido, like all Kaido units have been garbage in PvP. And this is not the worst, but still don't see any use for him really. Strength focused unit, attack up level 6, speed up level 6, HP up level 6, recovery up level 6. And when you're low HP, you get self-special CT speed up level 3. All this with a 34 CT special, that's insane. So yeah, like it's not bad, but we don't have any HP. So this is kind of like, it's okay. If the special is good, then it's worth it. But the special is not that great. Hits enemies in a large range for attack 4 times damage. And then he also does 3000 damage. And when HP is low, you target one enemy with high special CT and ignores defense for attack 2 times damage. And I think there's a good chance that that final hit will actually kill what you target. But that's a super RNG condition. Sometimes it will work, sometimes not. You can't really rely on that. And sure, he does damage, but I don't feel like it's that much, and the CT is so high. Like, I feel like 4 times damage with 3000 fixed damage is good, not going to lie, but I still doubt it will be worth using, but maybe people will prove me wrong. He always evades half stats and action bind as well. Half stats is getting less and less useful. Sadly or thankfully, depending on how you look at it. A GP leader, here it is. I'd say it's not noteworthy. It is what it is. As for the burst, you need to take 60k damage. Immediate red flag. Needs to be incredibly good to justify such a bad condition. And it really isn't. You target all enemies for base attack times 4 2 times. And after 30 seconds you do some fixed damage. Like, yeah. I don't see this being used at all in GP. So this is mainly a PvE unit, which is fine with me. Closing remarks, very strong unit. Incredibly held back by not being a driven unit. And that might honestly prove to kill a lot of the viability for this unit, but in a vacuum, he should be strong. Let's see how good he will be for the upcoming Super Boss. But yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.